And I am back, and so are you, so let us proceed. Stephen Miller, he looks a little bit like, was it Himmler? One of the Nazi high command, I think it was Himmler. It was one of those evil-looking son of a bitches. Stephen Miller looks exactly like him. Stephen Miller would have fit perfectly into the Nazi high command. And it's my understanding that the Jews of the world have declared that Stephen Miller is no longer one of them. No, I'm just kidding. I think that would be wonderful. I mean, the Catholics, according to the Pope, he can throw people out of the faith. Why can't the Jews? Anyway, Stephen Miller's got his bloomers in a wad because of a ruling by Judge Chutkan about immunity, that Trump doesn't have any. He's a fucking criminal. I mean, come on. Now, that decision by Judge Chutkan just was a burr up Miller's ass, obviously. He took to social media to vent about the consequences of Judge Chutkan's ruling. He said, quote, "Many likely don't appreciate just how radical and dangerous it is to revoke the doctrine of presidential immunity. In effect, this gives any single far-left judge, jury, or prosecutor a veto over the actions of the democratically elected president. It means a Letitia James or a James Comey alone decides what a president can or cannot do in the fulfillment of his duties." Oh, you asshole. He goes on, "The fact that such a persecution may initiate after a president has left office is irrelevant because future presidents will now exercise their office within the narrow confines of this anti-constitutional, anti-democratic framework." End quote. Nazi Jew Stephen Miller. I mean, it is constantly amazing to me how these assholes can twist language so adroitly. I mean, Orwell, in a lot of his essays, not a lot of, but a couple of essays, he wrote about the corruption of language and how it goes hand in hand with the establishment of fascism. Or the establishment of communism. He wasn't writing about fascism when he wrote 1984. He was writing about totalitarian communism. That's the opinion of a lot of people who've reviewed his work or who've read his work. To me, the things I have read by Orwell leads me to believe he was talking about a poisonous hybrid of fascism and communism, totalitarianism, where individuals didn't exist. The only thing that existed was dear leader. And we have seen that several times, and the end result of that, whether it was Hitler or Mussolini or Mao or Pol Pot or whoever it was, the slaughter of innocent people, Netanyahu, the slaughter, the destruction, the murder of innocent people, various presidents in this country who, while never adopting the mantle of totalitarian, had the full cooperation of branches of government as we committed our genocidal atrocities over the 20th century and into the 21st, I might add. Anyway, Stephen Miller, who you can't shut up once he starts talking, he added this, quote, "A president is the embodiment of the state and the voter. So when he becomes liable for his exercise of speech as president, it is, in fact, the whole American people who have been robbed of their sovereign authority transferred yet again to the unelected, unreformed, and unaccountable, period. Conservatives, not speaking out against these travesties, are clearly uninterested in conserving this republic." End quote. So what the little Nazi Jew is saying, of course, that if you are a fascist, as he is, Whether you're Christian, Jew, Muslim, Hindu, chair worshiper, or atheist, it makes no difference. You should be on your hind legs right now screaming about the unfairness of it. I mean, Judge Chutkan took away from Donald Trump the one shield he had left, his immunity from prosecution as he tried to destroy this republic. Well, guess what, fuckwad? You just lost it. As far as Stephen Miller, I'm hoping that someday we have Nuremberg-style trials in this country, not rallies, but trials. Now, what has to happen before that? That is the unthinkable part. But if those trials ever do occur in the smoky future, I would think that Stephen Miller will be right there waiting for his turn in the gallows. Anyway, in a follow-up post to all that bullshit, Miller had to add, if presidential immunity, quote, only applies to acts Democrat partisans unanimously agree are legitimate presidential activities, then by definition, there is no immunity for Republican office holders. They serve at the pleasure of the leftmost prosecutor in the country at any given time. End quote. Man, Stephen Miller, you little prick. There's more. He added this, quote, put another way, if just one extreme partisan can dissolve the immunity, then the immunity is already dissolved. Ooh, let me write that down. It is the legal and intellectual equivalent of when Democrats say they believe in the First Amendment, except for misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech. He added, what the hell does that mean? Then he closed with this, quote, Democrats are free to break election law, but Republicans will go to jail for exposing it or seeking appropriate legal redress. Oh, my God. Well, you just keep talking, asshole, because there is a record of every word some of these Nazi wannabes has uttered over the past 8 years. And I'm hoping it'll make a very good prosecutorial brief when the time comes to bring these son of a bitches to some kind of justice, either constitutional justice or, if it comes to this, frontier justice, whatever it takes to save the republic. Oh, one more thing, not about the Nazi Jew, but this guy, Ben Klein, a Republican from Virginia, representative. No, he's not Jewish, but Benjamin Klein accused Hunter Biden. Now, you're going to have to pay close attention to what I'm going to say, because even when I first read it, as I read it now, it's a little staggering. But Ben Klein has accused Hunter Biden of blocking the Christian fascist Representative James Comer's impeachment investigation by Hunter Biden offering to testify in public. During an interview on Newsmax, another little shithole of a sewer, Mr. Klein suggested that the offer by Hunter Biden to respond to the subpoena, to show up, to answer any question in public, Mr. Klein suggested that that offer was a plot to stall the probe. Oh, my God. And anybody out there hears this podcast or whatever you listen to, can you ever entertain the idea that these son of a bitches are not full on crazy? If I agree to testify, I'm screwing up your probe, your investigation. So Klein went on to say this to the Newsmax freak fuck, the interviewer. This is what Klein said, quote, well, this committee, Comer's committee, is trying to get the facts, get to the bottom of the corruption that was going on in the Biden family between Hunter Biden and the rest of the family. Notice that, the rest of the family. Dr. Joe Biden now? Oh, that's right, because the Trump family is chock-a-block with cockroaches and thieves and liars, but I digress. This committee is trying to get the facts, get to the bottom of the corruption that was going on in the Biden family between Hunter Biden and the rest of the family, and exactly follow the money to where it leads. And they're preparing a report to give to the Judiciary Committee. The Democrats are stalling. They've essentially sent the message to Hunter Biden that we will protect you if it's in public and for show. And quote, what the fuck? Klein claimed that Hunter Biden would, quote, not have to give any facts, end quote, if he testifies in public. I mean, isn't that ass backwards world? Isn't that upside down world? Isn't that the world of these sick Christian fascists where up is down, left is right, sin is good, good is sinful? Here they are. Here they are. And he went on when he was on this Newsmax sewer, Klein did, he says this, quote, you won't have to give any information as you would in a deposition, because in a deposition, it takes hours and hours and hours. You ask the little questions that won't be kind of interfered with by counsels for the other side, by members from the other side who just want to play for the cameras. And quote, really? Not like you, Ben, right? You asshole. And then he added this, quote, so that's what this is all about. Him offering to testify publicly. It's about blocking, continuing to block Chairman Comer and this House of Representatives from finding out the facts for the American people. End quote. And with that, I could just see his right arm going up in a seagull. It's crazy. It's just total madness. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.